Tried to warn these niggas that I'm standing on next, oh yeah, that's right. Had to earn my riches, I ain't had shit, giving that's on my life. Had to dig real deep, talking real deep till I seen that light. I been on my shit, you can tell me shit and I'ma prove you right. I don't know why they trying. It's too late cause we up now. I just gotta keep striving. It's too late to give up. Let me know if you riding. Fuck around and pull up now. Yeah, let me know when it's like. Man, it's hard to keep up now. Yeah. These bitches all on me, I can't get a mama. This like what they want me, I'm finna pop. I'm after the hundreds, don't care for these honeys. They y'all money, honey, can't afford a star. I'm cool, I be chillin', but I swear I'm with it. Hope you don't to me, and that's on my pod. The real, the realest, the foot of the building, from floor to the ceiling. You know I'm all about my winning. Took some L's, but I won't take too many. Yeah, scooting up about every penny. I don't play by my money, you feel me? Yeah. Ain't faking shit, this the real. Talking shit on these deep in my ear. Show them they ain't try to hear. All of a sudden they care how I'm feeling. So it's fuck 'em. They wasn't there from the start, you can't trust it. They was talking too much, had to hush. Disrespecting my niggas a flush. We do a little more than talking with touch. Had to get in my back, I wasn't bluffing. Took my time with this shit, couldn't rush it. I don't like making music, I love it. Hoop is the only thing I put above it. It's a whole lot of niggas who hate on me, but it's even more bitches who waiting on me. Working hard, my success you won't take from me. Had a plan for so long that they waiting to see. Did me dirty, but fucking let you receive. I'ma be it regardless, the ball on repeat. RP box forever, you lift to me. And you gon' just know it, that's the good to see. I know you in need, but just know you ain't gotta take it from me. Hard to tell who real these days, they ain't changed till I got so money. But I never let the money change me, say since day one, you know, man. Mama, you ain't gotta worry about a thing.
So when I look at y'all shit, when I look at young people do that shit, I like the way your line in the question was. Like, you seem like y'all was aiming to not come up. Y'all was trying to be professional as far as not trying to like fit into shit. Got 3 cups on the side of me. We got to smoke every fucking time. As soon as I see a nigga do that shit, I'm turning this shit off. You know what I'm saying?
Didn't I tell you?
Because this the thing, right? Look at all the time y'all taking to get y'all stuff together. If you really taking it to the next level and y'all look like y'all serious, and nobody gonna pay for that. You know what I'm saying? You gotta do something real stupid to get on camera that's gonna sell your stupidity, or you gotta be legit, you know, trying to be a business person and branch off of different things, and you use that as a base. You understand what I'm saying? So that was the first thing when I looked at it, I was like, all right, you know what I'm saying? Ain't nobody doing no crazy shit on camera, you know what I'm saying? And when you look at it, like for me, I'm way older than y'all, so when I look at it, I can actually listen to it, you know what I'm saying? As opposed to, I can't understand what these motherfuckers saying, and then this nigga got to drink his cup and got fucking 17 chains on and the shit dangling in the fucking background. I hate that shit. But yeah, I watch that shit, you know?
Hey, I appreciate that,
For
Coach.
sure.
Hey, thanks for having us. For sure. Hustle Podcast, tuning in. We lit today, per usual. Like I said before, we got Mill with us. We got Hustle Kobe. And we got my boy RJ, GG he always behind the scenes for sure. If he ain't here, I love it. So let's get into it, Coach.
Okay, will you prefer Coach or Mr.
You can call me Coach P. That's
Okay,
cool.
Coach P. So what is the pros and cons that comes with running your business? Or
Pros-
is it just starting a business overall?
Just starting, having the capital in place, good credit. Can't stress that enough, you know, good credit, because when you're going into banks and you're asking for loans, if you don't have the exact capital on hand, which most people don't, right? Having good credit, because your credit gonna speak for you, you know. And then for us being minorities, makes it even worse. And I'll tell you a true story. We had 3 times the amount of cash in the bank when we went to apply for the loan to start this operation, and they gave us only about 75% of what we asked for. So that's the kind of stuff that you have to take into play. And just like when we're talking off camera, when you're trying to do things like what y'all doing, the appearance, you know, is everything. So just being professional, being, you know, on camera, on there, being, you know, efficient at what you're doing and not just doing something. All that come into play, because if you go to the next level, and I'm speaking, y'all will, right? you gotta go sit at the business table with people that wanna put ads on your deal, right?
100%.
So when they do that, they wanna say, okay, I'm not gonna turn off my customer base I already have, trying to get and tap into a younger crowd when I don't agree with what they're doing. So some of the pros and cons, like you said, would be just making sure your credit is good and understanding that it's a slow process, you know. So just like y'all getting the podcast off the ground, if you go back a month, 2 months ago to where y'all at now, I'm sure you can see and track y'all progress, and it's the same way in business.
In the beginning, Coach, during the introduction, you talked about you working at a water plant, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you was already into it. So take us through that mindset that you was in to start something like this, because not everybody is doing this. This is different.
So just how, you know, y'all see them address me as Coach Pete, that's what I did. Coming up, I worked in the community coaching kids, girls, basketball, boys, football. And I always had dreams of doing things like this. So for 17 years of my life, it was dedicated to that. And I took pride in it. So, excuse me, I put my all into it. Same way I put my all into this now, I put my all into that. So it don't leave a lot of room for, you know, other things to come about or be able to grow, because it takes time, you know, putting in the energy and being there.
It took you, okay, you said 17 years, right? Through that process, like you said, you was coaching us, the youth, and you was doing other things. How was you able to keep the main thing the main thing? If you get what I'm saying, most people, 17 years is a long time. Like, damn, I ain't gonna never get it.
You know.
What brings you now?
Well, like you said, when you asked me the previous question about working at a plant and working with water, the things that I was coming up with prior to this, none of it really made sense. So that's the other thing about being in business, is finding something that makes sense. It's something that's not seasonal, that you can make money all year long, and you're not just hot for 3 or 4 months, and then the next part of the year you have to figure out, you know, how much you're gonna be able to pay, and you know, all that kind of stuff. So I use the water, and my cousin, who actually runs the business with me, Jared Atkins, I was in LA, man, and I was having a conversation with my son, and I was out at the LSU and UCLA football game, and my friend, he owns a State Farm agency out in New Orleans in a coffee shop. So while we on vacation, I'm watching him work. I'm on vacation, I'm not doing anything. He's working the whole time. I start asking questions. That's another thing. You can't be afraid to ask questions, you know? And we the same age, been knowing each other for 40-something years, right? And I start asking him, and we're going through it, and I'm watching him. His work is paying for everything that we doing, right? And I'm like, that's the wave I need to be on. I need to get my mind, you know, to thinking like that. Move on down the line, the next day, I'm having a conversation with my son. You know, I'm a lot older than y'all. Yeah. It wasn't going the way I wanted it to go. So I called in a mediator, which was my cousin, and in the midst of that conversation, the water deal came up, and my cousin was like, "Man, I've been meaning to tell you, this is what we need to do." And that's where it burst, man. Listening to my friend, taking notes, asking him questions, and then one day, I had an idea that spurned. And from exactly 1 year from that game to the next year, we were in here.
So you've been here for how long now?
We've been in this building operating for about 3 months.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's another thing, you know, when you come in, again, some of the pros and cons, it's a permit for everything that runs in here, right? So you're not on your own time frame. And the city of Houston, you know, they go at their own drum, and you really just have to kind of get in where you fit in with them until they get to you type of deal. So we wanted to be up and running like in August, and we didn't actually start really running until November. So.
What I want to know is how you getting your business known, like out there to the people. What's the process for you doing that? How is that working out?
Main thing, just using social media. Just for me, learning. Of course, you can hire people to do it. But when you come in, this used to be a pharmacy, so this building had to be completely renovated, right? All the equipment, everything in here, everything costs, you know. So the more things that you can learn to do yourself, the better off, you know, you'll be. So we just kind of just take it like that.
And what's your, in the next 5 years, where do you want to take your business?
In the next 5 years, it's a good question. I would like to see this running within a 2 to 3 year and be profitable. Back to what you were saying about asking about the promoting and marketing, that all this stuff kind of go hand in hand, because you never really get all the way down to where you perfectly know how to market. You understand? So you can have ideas, and then you just have to try to follow up. Some stick, some won't, right? But in 5 years, I'd like to be able to see this morph into being profitable and being able to leverage this business to do other businesses. And that's why I see us being in 5 years. We got a lot of ideas, you know, but the main thing, and keeping the main thing, is in making sure that this goes. And then when we talk about credit and things like that, when you go into a bank and you're looking to get money from, especially if you're a business, they want you to show that you've been in business at least 2 years and that you're profitable and making money. At that point, you kind of use everything you're doing and leverage, you know, that business that you have to do other things. It kind of, you know, make you some more income.
Knowing this was your first business though, how was you able to pull it off? We know you had a little help,
A lot of
and
help.
and a lot of luck too.
Yeah.
So
Now I ain't gonna say luck, and the reason why I'm gonna say luck is because how long we been knowing each other?
when I'm 22, shit, I've been knowing you for at least 17 years.
All right. So over those 17 years, I leveraged my relationships. You know what I mean? Because
I like
and the reason why I don't say it was luck was because whatever I'm doing, I give it my all. You know, and that's how 17, 18 years later, we can have relationships and talks like this. You know, because it grows from this. They could be scared to talk about certain things in front of me. At one point, now they're grown and we could go and we could talk about anything. You understand?
You know,
So that's
you
why
know,
it's
yeah,
not.
that
So
problem.
that's not. That's why it's not. That's why I wouldn't say luck. You know, it's just you build relationships, and if you build genuine relationships, then you don't have to worry about luck. You know what I'm saying? As far as that regard.
I like that.
You talking about relationships, that's something that a lot of people don't really, you know, think is important, but how important is relationships?
Everything.
Starting a business.
Everything. And the reason why I say that is because Galena Park ISD, I was big with the football program, basketball program, and by having those relationships and nurturing those relationships over the years, you know, those are some of the biggest people that advocated for what we're doing. And because they have the community support and people who understand and trust and believe what they do, when they speak upon someone, you know, it carry a lot of weight, especially when we're talking about in a community, you know. So that was one of the biggest things.
Let's switch the conversation up a little bit more. You a father of
4.
4. How old you, if you don't mind us asking?
43.
43. Okay, in your 43 years, did you see yourself being here?
Actually said I'm 44.
Okay,
That's what
so
happens when you get there.
In your 44 years, did you see yourself being here where you at right now? And I want you to really think about that too, because remember, sports, and I actually want to know what got you out of sports too.
Okay.
To top that question off. But 44 years, did you really know you was gonna be here? Being where you from? Matter of fact, where are you from?
7 Ward, New Orleans.
New
Where I'm
Orleans.
from. And I tell you, I did. I saw myself early as not knowing exactly what I was doing, but I knew that I'd be doing something, you know, and I always felt like that. So it just didn't happen in the time frame. I take this as another step too. It's a quote Nipsey said, right? Nip said, you know, everything happens in its time, and I'm paraphrasing, right? But it always happened. Not maybe when I thought it would, but eventually that it come through, you know. And I believe that. I always believed that I would be successful doing something. I never had a doubt that it would be something. And I'm nowhere near right now where that's at. This is the baby. This is the baby. And it started later than I probably would have thought because I was doing other things. But without those other things, I probably wouldn't even be here.
So you really feel like that?
I was 100%.
Okay, so what led you off sports? And
So-
don't tell me because our class left, you know, so your guys left. Tell me more. It got to be a reason. That was your passion. I watched you every day.
So, okay. So, with sports, the last year I coached something was basketball, and that was the year the pandemic was my last year.
Okay.
And the reason why I had to stop, I had a girls basketball team, but most organizations, they'll have more than one team. I only concentrated on one team. That's my whole effort to that one team. And when the pandemic happened, people weren't playing, you know. A lot of times I had to fund a lot of the stuff myself. You know, if kids playing and then we get halfway in the season and people can't pay or they pay kind of slow, I had to come out of pocket. And that particular year was just not a good year to try to keep going because I would have probably had 5, 6 girls and you really can't be for real and do it like that. So in the midst of the pandemic and freeing up my time, well, now I'm into other things. We started an investment company.
Okay.
And we started with that, and then it morphed into doing this. So it's just one of those things where the time allowed me to do other things, and then those things started captivating my time. And when it says stop coaching, I have to stop, right? The same way I talked to you then is the same conversation we have now. And something I always thought, and I always told y'all, you know, everything has moments in time, right? So that was that time. So now I can't talk to y'all like y'all was kids, but I can coach you through this next part of life because I've already been in that part of life. So if I make a mistake, I can try to help guide you from making the same mistakes I made, right? It's the same format, it's just at a different stage. You know, I'm not talking to you about, you know, go work out and start watching the game or playing the game or, you know, it's real life situations, you know, that we talk about. So it ever stop, it's just in a different form. That's the way I look at it.
You talk about freeing your time. You know, you just said you're a father of 4. So how did you balance being a father and also with your business? Like, was it times where I know you, like, damn, at home is hard, you got stuff going on, and you got to come to work? Like, how did you balance all that together?
That's a good question. Sometimes I sit back and I look at some of the things that I've done in the past, and I wonder, like, dang, how the hell did I do that? Like, where I got the energy from to do it? Because, you know, for me, it was 7 days a week, man. Because I might have one doing this, one doing that, one doing this, one doing that, and it's like, golly, you can't think about it while you're in it, right? While y'all in this grind right now, doing what y'all doing, as y'all get bigger and bigger, the grind, how I say, you got to be obsessive, right? I'm a Nipsey quoter, bro, and I tell you the story, and I tell you why in a second. But you got to be aggressive with that grind, right? So when you obsessed with something, you don't have time to think about how much you're doing. You're just doing it. Once you get out of that, then you like, wow, you know what I mean? So you just can't think about like how much it's doing. You just gotta do it, and you ain't gonna think about it because it's gonna be naturally you on the go. You don't have time to think. If you got time to think about what you're doing, you're not going hard enough.
Okay. Oh.
And when you first started, like, how did your peers, everybody around you, how did they perceive your business? Like, was they supportive or was they, you know, standoffish?
Iffy, like, towards your business, or you starting it up, or was they like on your side, like, yeah?
100% behind me, and that's why we've been able. We didn't really start at zero. You know, we were starting, like I said, before we got in here, I was selling cases of water, it was 60, 70 a month, right?
So you had already had that.
Just driving them around because I wanted the customer base to understand, like, we're gonna be here, right? So I didn't have access to that, but I could sell the water. Wasn't even making no money really, you know. When you talking about bringing 6 cases off of Tidwell, then bringing 6 cases downtown. Think of the gas that you spending, the wear and tear you putting on your vehicle. You understand?
Oh, so
But-
you doing all that? Not to cut you off. You doing all that yourself?
Yeah.
Like driving and dropping everything off.
Yeah, this before we got in here, because I understood that I couldn't wait till we get in here
Yeah.
to start trying to build. It was a process, and like I said, then going to work 5:30 in the morning, getting home at 9:30. You know, that's a long day picking up cases of water
Oh,
on
yeah.
top of being at work.
Oh,
You
yeah.
know, but I didn't think about it like that. I was so like hungry and focused on getting to this moment to be ready for this moment. You know what I'm saying?
Now that you in this moment right here, right now, which I know you're not satisfied, what's next for you? Are you thinking about doing anything else? Clothing
Oh, yeah.
brand?
Nah, I'm not really into the clothing thing. I told you I watch a lot of podcasts. Man.
Okay.
And one thing about fashion, man, fashion is hard to break. You know what I mean? I was just talking to my little cousin a couple of weeks ago, and he was telling me, he wanted to get into fashion. I said, well, like, what you thinking? Everybody got the sweats with the names and everything, and that's cool, right? If you got a fly design, that work. But this is what separates the person that's thinking about it, right? These shoes, how much you think it costs to make them pair of shoes?
Can't put a price on it.
Can't
Not
It
the
costs
price.
about $7 to make them shoes, right? But the only way you're gonna see that is if you do what? You go where they making the shoes.
Yeah.
That's where your profit margins come from. Because if all of us doing the clothing brand, right, and we are right here, 9 times out of 10 we getting our stuff from the same people. When I say the same people, she might get it from one website, you might get it from one, he might get it from one, but guess what? They all getting it from the same person.
Same person.
Right. So now we all, to make money, we all gotta sell our stuff at the same price just to make money, or else you doing it for nothing. But Dame Dash always said that, man. It's hard. Fashion is hard to get in. So to answer your question, I wouldn't want to get into fashion. I'm more or less real estate, and like I said, leveraging the business that I have to be able to earn more income. And for y'all viewers, that check out the Earn Your Leisure crew, man. And when you're talking about building podcasts,
You told me about that.
when you talk about building podcasts, go back and look at it and watch what they did, man. And you can learn from anybody, I'm learning from y'all. You can learn from anybody. But those guys, I watched them doing the guy I talk about all the time. We were holding, how we were videoing, and then now, they everywhere.
That's the one I see.
Tell me a few podcasts that you pick up on.
Earn Your Leisure. They do a couple of different ones. Market Mondays, Trapper, a lot of investment guys.
Okay.
Wall Street Trapper. And why these guys would be good for y'all, if investing might not be your thing, but the platforms and how they build their podcasts would be a great tool to see how they doing it. You know what I mean?
That'd be
It'd real
great
cool.
for sure.
Yeah.
So as far as I'm big on this business thing right now. So as far as your business, what can help? What you feel that you need, and to help you get to the next level? Like what
Right.
things can you incorporate to get to the top?
One, having the right products. Without the right products,
Yeah.
you don't have no business, The water is a strong product, but to take it to the next levels, you gotta have the right product. And you constantly searching because those things can switch up. Remember when I told you about seasonal things?
Okay.
So now that we're here, the main thing is the main thing. This is the main thing, right? But the things that go on top of that, I could be switching stuff out, every other month, whatever sells, whatever works, but you don't know until you try. So just making sure that the product is right.
I like that.
I have a question. Do you feel like for people that want to start their business or be a business person, do you think they should go to school for it or just do their research?
That's a good question.
Because I'm in the middle of thinking, should I go to school for it or should I just use my research and the stuff that I see other people doing to get where I need to be?
So the answer to that would be based on, my opinion, would be based on individual situations, right? I had a cousin that lives in California named Montreal, and she made a comment to me one time. She's like, college is not for everyone, and it's not a must that you do it. But what college does is give you options, right? And just depending on what field you in, it's like it's one of those things. It's case by case basis. You know what I mean? So, like, what you going to school for?
business management.
So how it could work for you is y'all doing a podcast, right? And just say me said, my man, right? What's your name?
Kobe.
Kobe. Edit that because I forgot. Kobe. We all doing our thing, right? We walk in the room, the four of us. We haven't graduated from college. So when these people sitting here and they talking to us, I was like, okay, we got a knock against us right off the rip when we walk in those kind of rooms. When you walk in, oh, I'm a graduate of such and such, right? Don't matter what you graduated with or where you graduated from. Instantly, the conversation, you become a step over the three of us in that room. So how does that work? Well, if we sitting down and they say, okay, we like what y'all doing. They might never even seen your podcast, but they see that you're doing numbers, and we can put our product in front of whatever audience they have. That's the people you want to be in the room with. And when you have that kind of paper behind you, it definitely gives you a little bit of advantage as opposed to just walking in and not having it. But can you do it without it? Yeah. But it's better to have that option if you able to, obtain that, in my opinion.
If you could change anything in this world, what would it be?
In the world? In the world?
Yeah, and why?
Why?
If I could change anything in the world, would be it would be for people to be able to have opinions and be able to agree to disagree.
Let's talk about that a little bit, because people killing each other out here. You feel me? Violence is big out here for us. I don't know why we want to kill each other. You feel me? But it's big. Tell us about it. Tell us what you feel like could change this world out here. Do you feel like, of course, communication is one of them for sure. Some of the stuff don't be as big as we make it. For sure, and I say we because we all a victim to it. So tell us more about it.
So the question asking me, what would I change and why?
Yeah.
Like I said, one would be to, when it comes to like all the killing and things of that nature, I think social media, me personally, play a lot of part of that, because when you can sit behind a computer and talk about people, say whatever you want, everybody feel big,
Yeah.
But then if they actually know who you are and you are nobody, you'd be like a deacon in the church. That was the thing. Like in our time when I was coming up, you couldn't get away with that. If you said something,
I'm glad you
when you say something, you're gonna get approached. And I kind of miss that. You know what I mean? 'Cause I like if you're not man enough to say what you gotta say in front of me, or woman enough to say what you gotta say, then you shouldn't say nothing.
Yeah.
But the internet, it give everybody a voice to be like, I can say what I want. I'll do this and I'll do that, and don't have to worry about nobody touching.
That's a part of the reason I feel, because people can say anything they want to say on the internet or in person too, because they pretty much know most of the people you get into it with, they pretty much know, some of them pretty much know who you is. They know you're not gonna do nothing, so they pretty say whatever they want to say and take it on the internet. Like, it's crazy, man.
Yeah, man, it's that's probably one of the biggest things, bro. With social media, when you're trying to do business and things like that, it works. But that's one of the negative effects of social media is that, think about it, if it's 1 million people in the world, I'm just using a number, right? 800,000 or 900,000 of us got social media. Everybody can't be rich. Somebody got to be doing something else.
Yeah. So
So then you get on social media and it's like everybody living a fabulous life, and that ain't even the case, and we all know that, So then people feel pressure to live up to a standard that's really not even attainable.
when really you should just be trying to prove to yourself each and every day. But let's switch to Congo a little bit. What kind of impact did your parents play a part of you?
So my parents, they played a major role. Like I said, I grew up in New Orleans, and I grew up in the 7th Ward in New Orleans. I lived in the 9th Ward in New Orleans, and my parents, they split when I was about 7, man.
Okay.
And I moved to Houston in 1989, and when I moved out here, my stepdad and my dad, they were completely different like type of people, right? And it was a good balance because you kind of could see the world through two different, you know, lenses, you know what I mean? And being out here in Houston, it opened my eyes up to a lot of things that if I was in New Orleans, I wouldn't have never done. So my mom, she always worked, she grinded. You know, I felt like that's where I got my work ethic from. And my stepdad, you know, he taught me how to be a man, you know, how to take care of the kids, you know, take care of the house. And with my dad, what I learned from him was, one, you understand how drugs could tell a family, you know what I mean, and relationships. And the things that I didn't have from him was really how I met you, because I poured all that into, it's some other kids out there that feel like I feel, and I can identify with them. You understand what I'm saying? When I see them, and everybody got to handle different, but that was one of the things that I just give everybody hope, because I had a lot of people that gave me hope. Not saying that I was in the worst situations, but when you get into a thing mentally, you can get into some dark places of, you know, trying to get yourself out of, maybe it could be misunderstood, you know, anything, man. So just identifying those situations, and I used that with my dad to start working with kids, man, and say, okay, if I see a kid, I could identify, you know, with things going on. And
Yeah, facts, quick. As soon as I came in, you said, you alright, you look a little down.
yeah.
Quick.
I was like, you good? You alright?
Quick. So that's great.
So I wanna it's not really a two-part question, but you know, say before you was a coach.
Mm-hmm.
So how is coaching and having a water business, like how is that like hand in hand? Like how does that work?
So when I was, like I told you, remember I told you I was obsessed with it, right?
Yeah.
So, and everything I did, I was always good at it because I put that time in, right? So now that I'm not coaching a team, the same format that I use for competition is what I use for this. And this is why I always say it's good for kids to play sports, because whether you go to college and play or you make it to the pros, the work ethic that it give you, working with a team and understanding playing your role, you know, that goes a long way, man. So I just attack it just like if I was getting ready for a game, you know what I mean? Come in and just have a set plan, and that's the game plan. And then how you execute it is the play on the field of the court.
I like that. I like that.
I like that.
So I have another question. If somebody was to come in your door right now, they doing the same thing you do, they got the money and everything, they wanted to collab with you, or I don't know if you're into, I'm pretty sure you're not into selling your business, this is strictly you.
Good.
If they was to come to you and say, hey man, I got this money, I wanna collab with you, I wanna help you get your business to the next level, would you do it, or are you looking for any partners or anything like that?
At this point, for this particular location, no, because we're already in it, right?
Yeah.
So when you think back to what we were talking about earlier, all right, you do you got cost analysis, and then you have projections, right? So you come up with all this stuff before you get to this point, and that's what you need for banks when you need loan. They want to see how you gonna make your money and how long it's gonna take you to make it, and how we gonna get paid, right? So if a business come, I need this business to do well to be able to leverage it. So I wouldn't sell it right now, because
Okay.
if you sell it when you get to a point where you feel like you done made your money and you can take whatever you make from this and then get into something else, right? So of course, later on down the line, that could be an option, you know, to be able to sell it like this. And then if we wanted to, somebody say, okay, look, we know you got the blueprint how to get this up and running. We want to open one 100 miles from here. We'll collab with you. Okay, make it make sense. And if it makes sense, then, you know, you go, it's a step-by-step, you know, a situation-by-situation basis. But that would be something that we definitely would be open to, you know what I mean?
Would you like sell your water like at Walmart or something? HEB?
Yeah, so, so with this, right, and this is another thing that we had talked about yet, branding, right? So right now with WaterTree is its own entity, right?
Okay.
They have multiple stores all over the city, so it's brought into the franchise, right? So for us, you're an independent store owner, so we could go and make deals and kind of put stuff in the stores and things like that. But the importance of having your own brand, right? If I have my own brand that you put your own label on, you have a lot more access as opposed to where you can put things to where you benefit off of it 100%. So building and having your own brand is great. Sometimes you can't jump right into having your own brand. You know what I mean?
You gotta start somewhere.
You gotta start somewhere. So eventually that could be something that we also do is get into our own brand and have our own deal.
For somebody that's trying to approach the type of business and introductions and adventures that you doing, like people your age still trying to do it, what kind of advice can you give to them today to motivate them, keep them up?
Do it. Because we'll second guess ourselves and we'll talk ourselves out of doing everything. You know what I'm saying?
Cause you're on it, boy.
So I'm telling you from experience, you know, because you'll have a great idea and it make the most amount of sense to you. And then you'll be like, well, what do y'all think about this?
Yeah.
And other people's fears will keep you from doing what you want to do, to where you start doubting your own self, right? So you gotta be able to
That's hard.
be able to think clear for yourself, be able to listen and take advice from people, and understand what you need to take from it and take and leave away from. You know what I mean? Because we'll talk our own selves right off the ledge and have a great idea. So if you believe in, it's about just believing in yourself. You know what I mean? You see me, I posted on Instagram.
Yeah.
I decided 2 years ago, I'm betting on me. I'm going all the way in. Either I'm gonna fall face first, you know, or I'm gonna come out smelling like a champ. But I won't never know if I don't take the chance. But another thing, when I did that, I didn't realize how many kids was watching me and be like, man, coach, man, that inspired me. You know what I mean? And I'm gonna segue into how this even come about, right? So the kids looking at me and say, man, we watched you do this. We know you as Coach Pete, and now we see you doing this, you know? And they got some graduated from college and doing great things. And then it's like, it might not be water, but it's like, man, hey, coach, man, I want to do this. I see you do this, how you do that, right? I go to LA a lot. And the birthplace of me wanting to do something like this, me and my son, we was in the marathon one day. And I'm talking to Black Sam, Nipsey brother. And I'm asking Sam, like, he's like, what y'all doing here? My son ain't got in trouble, you know, it's another story, but we was just on a vacation, just clearing our minds, right?
Okay.
And he telling us, you know, some things, and I'm like, man, he giving us game. And I walked out of there after him taking his time and talking to us. They had a whole strip center, right? And he telling me, I'm watching, because I've been going for years when they didn't have, it wasn't the marathon, it was called Sloss and Tees, right? And it was just a little neighborhood store. And I go in there, I got on his music, and I'm talking to his brother, and so I seen the growth. He's about to get ready to go into another stratosphere, right? And I walked out that store, I told my son, I said, this is what I'm gonna do. I stood in that parking lot, and I said, this is how I envision myself. Being in my community, this is it. Having people congregating in my community, the people that I know, right? And giving hope to the next person coming, right? And I never forget, me and my son, we went out to Malibu on the beach, man, for 3 hours, 4 hours that night. We left the store like about 11, and we sat out on the water till like 3. Just on the water. I lit me a cigar up, and I sat there and we talked for 3 hours. We had a lot of stuff going on, you know what I mean? And in that conversation, that was the one that birthed in my head that I don't know when, but this is what I'm gonna do. You know what I mean? And I use a lot of Nipsey stuff because I got on to what he was doing maybe back, how he said, 014. I really got on it, right? And I just followed this movement, man. And it inspired me. You never know what's gonna inspire you, what trigger you. I used to hear people be like, man, that inspired me, man. This got me through this. I had never experienced that until I ran into certain situations that came about in my life. And that was the stuff that got me through.
I'm glad you brought that up, cause I wanna ask you, rest in peace, Nipsey Hussle, for real. What kind of I see you keep talking about him, so I'm gonna ask you. And give me deep intel, and I want you to tell me the feeling that you had when he passed. What kind of impact did Nipsey have on you?
It was great, man, because the message that he was preaching, it was just something at that particular time in my life that I was, you don't know that you starting for it, but it was just something that just triggered it. You know, some of it you can't even explain. When something that just kind of happened like that, you gotta just let it happen, you know? It's not something you can force, it just gotta naturally happen. And the things that he was talking about, and by me going out there so much, I could see it, you know, and it just was inspiring to me. It's inspiring to me to see a guy take an area that was nothing and make it to where everybody in the world, it's not just us, people come from all over the world to go to the man's place, right? And to be able to do that, that's a heck of an impact, man. This man literally had gangs in LA that beefed and killed people. He killed my cousin, I killed his brother, and because this man died, we said we're not gonna kill each other today. That's huge.
Yeah, that's huge.
For their culture, you know what I mean? Yeah. And everybody, you know, like you said, everybody wasn't with it, but to have the amount of people that they had and know he going through all these neighborhoods, they live by a whole nother kind of culture, you know what I mean? And that's their culture. But the impact that he had, not just for me, but he birthed a lot of people. Just same way Tupac did, you know. Just it gives, once somebody puts something in your mind, it birthed that idea. Then it's up to you to take it where you want to take it.
One of the things I picked on from Nip when I knew who he was like years ago before he died, but I wasn't really just on him like that. But it seemed like when people like that die, that's really influencing the culture and everything. It seemed like once they die, they have a better legacy once they die, and you get to figure out more things that they did and everything once they die. I hate that had to happen, but that's just how I feel sometimes.
So when you think about it, right, Nip, like you said, he was bigger in his absence than what he was, right? Because we don't appreciate that kind of stuff, right? Until it gets forced in our face, and then you're forced to look at it because you're so distracted by all these other things that you miss it unless you're right there and you looking, like you say, you was on it before, so you see the message that he's saying. So when something happened and the person he had to reach get with his music, they go back and they be like, dang, I really missed out on what this man was talking about. You know what I mean? And he had a lot of jewels. And then sometimes, bro, people just here for a certain reason. And once you fulfill that reason,
I take you out.
Yep.
That's what's up. Man, we got a few more questions for you before we get you out. One thing I want to say again, we appreciate your time. You very businessman. I want to really know more about you. Besides the businessman, besides the father, who are you? Who can you like?
I'm just a kid, man, that grew up in New Orleans. Used to dream big. I remember I used to get books from a bookstore.
Okay.
And I had this book, man, had all these monuments and everything, all the different cities in the United States. And I remember I used to think to myself, like, I want to do this. I probably never get a chance, but that was my dream. As I got older, start asking them all. And Dame Dash always said, man, you get your idea about dreams is to kill them. And I remember I got to the point to whether it was big or small to other people, the things that I always had dreamt about, I accomplished them, right? So them dreams was dead, so I had to start thinking about new things to dream about. You know what I mean? And I'm still on that hunt, trying to finish all the other dreams that I have, because as you know more, your mind, it just expands. And that's the other thing, you know, just travel, man. Get outside the box, save your money, man, and go shoot somewhere else, and then see, it just adds a different element, you know what I mean?
For sure.
Because you gotta let your mind work and expand, you know. So for me, that would be my thing, you know. I like to travel, I like to see other cultures, you know what I mean? and see how different people live, and that inspires me because one way they live could be something I never thought about. A business that they have that's up and running, I never would have thought about doing. So, but you give yourself those options. And the people you come across when you're traveling, you come across like-minded people, they give you advice. They go here. You're doing that, you should try to go here. You know, you would never know it unless you get outside that box.
My question to you is, everybody talk about business and, you know, want to go into the business aspect, but what is the biggest misconception about business? Like some people don't really know or think about before they get into it.
Thinking that it's just gonna be easy. You know, if you got an idea that it's just gonna work.
Yeah.
Not understanding that you're gonna have good days, you're gonna have bad days, you're gonna have things that pop up, you know. So that would be one of the biggest misconceptions is people just sitting around thinking like, it's like, first you gotta have the idea, but then how are you gonna articulate that idea? You know what I mean? And everybody not built to do that, you know. What's gonna happen, you know, if my business starts struggling, I got a cot in the back. I might have to condense my bills and sleep in the back. I got a TV, a bed. You understand what I'm saying? Are you willing to go to that extent? You know what I'm saying? You never know what they have.
Do it all.
Right. You gotta be willing to lay it all on the line. And a lot of people think that if they just come up with an idea, that it sound cool, that it, you know, that's just the beginning. The idea is great, but now the action plan, that's what separates people that really want to do it from now.
I like that. We appreciate your time, man. Again, we have a gift for you coming in soon. You will be receiving that real soon. Again, let's put the building, let's put the address down for the people so they can come in and see it. Give them your social media, give me your page.
Yeah, I'm at WaterTreeNorthShore on Instagram and Facebook and Twitter. I know too many people don't use Twitter. By the time this air, I probably had a WaterTreeNorthShore TikTok on also.
Okay.
And we at 902 Normandy, Houston, Texas 77015, Suite 200. We out in the area. We hydrating the east side, baby. We trying to get it done.
Come get it. We appreciate your time again, bro.
I appreciate y'all, man.
All love.
Yeah, I appreciate it for sure.
Hustle Podcast. We tuning in. Back at you.